Hey, y'all. What is going on this beautiful Wednesday? Well, it's raining here, and y'all know how it is when the weather gets overcast and it starts to rain. We just want to get in the bed and get under the covers and go to sleep. That's not been my reality today because it's been kind of busy and the day still ain't over. But I definitely wanted to hop in and give y'all a little bit of encouragement today and just check on you and see how you're doing in the middle of the week. Monday for me was a holiday, so it seems like the week is going by super fast. I'm not sure if that is the same for y'all, but either way, man, I tell you, it's been a day. I did want to come on real quick and talk a little bit about grace for the win in most situations now. Um, I know sometimes we think about grace for those of us who were raised in the church. There's that, surely God gives grace all the time, and we should extend grace to folks. And for the most part, some of us have taken that out of the church and into the real world. But as I continue day to day interactions with people and see different situations, I kind of feel like, in my opinion, we definitely need to extend a little more grace and stay unwound. Some of us wind up so quickly. um I feel like it's a must that I kind of do this video and just bring some peace and maybe some clarity and a few beach waves to whoever this video happens to reach. If you know somebody who needs it, please share it. um It's never a bad thing to spread a little bit of encouragement, here and there. So I feel like grace requires thought first because you got to think about whether or not you want to extend grace to people. Sometimes people do stuff over and over and over and over again, and you just get sick and tired of it. Now you're ready to tell them off. You've given grace all the grace you can give. You ain't got no more grace. The grace container is empty and you need a refill. Um, I feel like you have to be careful with that though, because some people will take extending grace as a sign of weakness, but there are ways to extend grace and also mean business. So you can extend grace and also, let people know, hey, extending grace does not mean I'm overlooking what you've done. Extending grace does not mean that I'm just automatically forgiving you for what you've done or said. And extending grace sure does not mean I'm ignoring it or just gonna act like I didn't see it. People extend grace for a number of different reasons. They extend grace for their own inner peace, maybe to avoid some sort of conflict. Um, they could feel sorry for you because you just really ain't know no better. You know, they are actually choosing to take the road less traveled. We hear this cliche about, oh, take the high road because it's less crowded. And in a sense, it is the truth. It's cliche, but it's the truth. And y'all, we got to admit that yes, the high road is definitely less traveled these days. I'm willing to bet that if you decide to take the high road in different situations, you're going to travel a few miles before you see before you see anybody else. These days, it seems like no matter where you look, everybody is down in the mud, wrestling with one another. Whether you're in the street, in the stores, in the restaurants, in the neighborhoods, on social media, at work, There's just so much vitriol and toxicity, and nobody is extending any grace anywhere. Sometimes if you leave stuff alone, it just kind of goes away on its own. Everything that is said does not need a response. And when my mama used to try and tell me that when I was smaller, I'm like, what is she talking about? No, they said this, so I'm going to say that. Or they did this, so I'm going to do that. And it took me a while, but I had to get out of the get backs, because things have a way of working themselves out. You know, Maybe people are extending you grace because they're giving you just enough rope to hang your own self. That's kind of how I think about it. I don't always have to be the one to put that dagger in and go toe to toe. No, you going to get it. You are going to get it. So, I think if we can think sometimes before we act and say, I'm going to just woosah, I'm going to give them some grace on this and I'm going to go on about my business, leave it alone and forget about it. It makes us feel better. And what I mean is, it kind of gives us a sense of peace being the bigger person. Sometimes there's fallout for stuff, and I don't even know about it because I don't go back to revisit. Why? Because I simply don't care. you know? I feel like you can only do so much. You can do what you do, and then how people react and how people take it is on them. And it requires a certain level of emotional maturity to make decisions other than the decisions that are easy. And people who know me will tell you that I'm going to say what I have to say. I'm going to try for it not to be so rugged around the edges. However, it's not going to be coated in a whole bunch of sugar because that's just not my style. I like my points to be clear and concise, and I like to get my point across and move on. And sometimes it's done with, no hard feelings. Now, I'm human, so every now and then there are hard feelings, and I recognize that and I work to get through it. But for the most part, I try to say what I have to say with grace. Sometimes frustration does come through because I'm only human, but I say what I have to say and I just let it hang in the air sometimes. And how people receive it is on them, as long as I know that I delivered it in a way that I can feel proud of and that I can feel good about. You know, it's just one of those things, and it's a practice. So grace is a daily exercise, just like everything else. In order to become, I'm not going to say good at giving grace, because that kind of doesn't really sit well with me. You're good at giving grace. In order to allow yourself to be graceful, you have to practice that. So you practice it over little things. Sometimes how we get turned up real big about little small things. Sometimes you got to let that stuff slide. And it's not that people have gotten over. It's like that ain't even, that used to bother me, but stuff like that don't bother me anymore. That's growth. And it feels good to say that when you're in that kind of situation where it's like, years ago, I would have turned up about this, but I can honestly say I'm past that, and that's not me anymore. It's not. So if that's you, if you need to practice extending some grace, start with the small stuff. Don't react right away. If something pisses you off, let it piss you off and deal with why you're angry about it. Let time pass before you decide what you're going to do about it. And more often than not, you may find that it's just not even worth your time to circle back to that thing because you've already processed your way out of it. Okay. That's all I got for today. Extend grace, And when people give grace, be thankful for that. Because quiet as it's kept, some of us have done some stuff that somebody probably should have turned up on us about, and they didn't. They just let it go. We made a mistake. We've done stuff on purpose, whatever it was. I feel like if we can get back to giving grace and just being a little kinder to one another, considering that everybody is an individual with somebody who loves them somewhere. Now, granted, it may not be us, but all in all, we're all people. So we got to practice this grace thing. We got to get that together. All right, y'all. I am going to sign off because I am hungry and I have two more meetings left in the day, and it's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, whoo, send me some good vibes, and I will check in with y'all later. Life Coach is leaving the building.